Hello and welcome back to the Checkpoint Reach podcast. This is a gaming and occasional movie news podcast. I'm your host Luke Eldon, and as ever, I'm joined by my fellow gamers and friends Sud, Perks and Matty. How you doing, guys?
Good, yeah, very good. It's been a cold day, but, you know, we're here for the podcast, so things will start warming up now, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. We're always dedicated no matter the weather.
Exactly.
How are the other two doing?
Sufficiently warm, thank you.
Well, I'm glad you're warm, Matt.
Yeah, I'm ready to go at room temperature.
The best temp. Well, we'll get started. Sorry about that. We'll get started with our first topic of the day, which we heard this news last week and thought it was the biggest gaming news of the week, which is Bungie have split from Activision. This means that going forward, Bungie will assume full publishing rights and responsibilities for the Destiny franchise. They've mutually cancelled their 10-year contract after completing around 6 years of it, we believe, starting in 2012. Just really, yeah, it was quite surprising news, I guess, just over halfway through the cycle of the contract. And I wanted to get your guys' opinions on it, and we'll start with Perks, our Destiny expert in the group anyway.
Yeah, sure. So I think, like you said there already, the news was quite surprising. I think that pretty much relates to the sense that it's come around just over halfway through the contract that we understand it as, and sort of almost halfway through Destiny 2. But I think, reading between the lines, the writing probably has been on the wall for some time now, with the fact that Activision and Bungie seem to have been on different planes when it comes to where Destiny is, and not just sort of currently, but with the future of the franchise as well. But where Bungie think they're delivering a sort of better version of Destiny than they ever have, Activision don't particularly agree with that. And if you sort of look at their most recent financial call, they make it quite clear that Destiny 2 sales, and Forsaken in particular, just didn't hit their expectations. They didn't make enough money, despite Bungie thinking it was really good content. So I think between the two of them, they're just sort of looking in different directions, and it's been there for some time now. You wonder how long it's been sort of simmering under the surface that a split would have been on the cards. That being said, you probably thought that they'd get through to the end of the contract, but that hasn't materialized, and I guess that's where the surprise comes in.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as you touched on, there has been a lot of mixed signals, really, hasn't there? Activision haven't really been happy, whereas Bungie seem to be happy from the signals that comes out of their camp anyway. Do you think that's the main reason for the split?
It does seem that way. Activision, as the publisher, would always be looking at more of a financial side of things rather than the gameplay and the development side of things, which would obviously fall on Bungie's head. So I guess, look, if you've got the developer really happy with the way things are going, and then the publisher kind of having other ideas as to where the franchise should be going, eventually you're going to come to a head with that, and something has to happen.
Yeah, definitely something has to give in that situation. I want to bring in Sud and Matty then and get their opinions on it. What do you guys think about the news?
Well, when I first saw the news, I was pretty surprised. I was scrolling through Twitter, as you do, and I saw, the tweet from Activision just saying, well, I saw the headline, "Thank you, Guardians," and at first I thought it's cancelled or something. I thought it was, and then that really would have been massive news for the podcast. But you could have dedicated a whole show just to that, to be honest, if it was that. But
well, Perks would have been able to attend.
Well, yeah, he would have been
funeral.
At the funeral of Destiny. But
rest in peace, Guardian.
Condolences, but yeah, I think I was still surprised. Obviously, at the split, it's the deal's pretty much 6 years in, isn't it? Out of 10, so it would run till 2022. So that pretty much gives it maybe 3.5 years left. I mean, it's a strange one. I do wonder, you wonder, don't you, which side is more to blame? But it's surprising on Activision's behalf that they haven't just carried on with it, because it's not, I know these companies are all about the bottom line and stuff like that, but it's not as if Activision are this poor company that, that they're flush with cash and stuff, so it's a bit of a surprise. But obviously, they must have seen something they weren't happy with at Bungie, or, maybe, the development of it, obviously, something's maybe gone wrong there, spiraling costs, not happy with what they're getting in return for those costs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it seems a strange one to me, but
I feel like
to see,
I feel like both sides would blame each other as well.
Yeah, well,
Secretly.
I was just thinking, we'll probably find out in the next few weeks. This, usually developers go to Reddit or wherever it is and vent their frustrations, don't they? Or they'll say something, or someone will say something,
Yeah.
and it'll leak out, and we'll probably find the real reason. But yeah, I was surprised, and it'd be interesting to see, what happens now with Bungie with the development of the game, and it'll be interesting to see what Activision does as well.
Definitely will be. What are your thoughts on this, Matt?
Well, honestly, I think this game's destiny, the series is destiny from day one, was to end up in the recycling bin. And this is just one step closer to that, to be honest with you.
Not a fan there.
Don't pull any punches there.
No. Bungie, I'm not surprised that Bungie have bought the publishing rights from Activision. They shouldn't. They shouldn't bother to buy the IP because it's been on a downward trend since day one. Like, obviously, Destiny was released at the beginning of the console generation, so there was less audience to sell it to, and that game sold better than Destiny 2, and I feel like any potential Destiny 3 would have sold worse than Destiny 2 as well. Like, it's a continual downward spiral, so they should have seen this coming. Obviously, Bungie, are hoping that another publisher is going to pick this up, because I don't think they've got the financial clout to market this game themselves. It doesn't strike me that they've got a lot of cash reserves. So obviously I don't know exactly how much money they've got, but they'd be eating into a massive chunk of it. It'd be a big risk to go off on their own and try and sort of publish this on their own, because they've never done that before. Just
jumping in quickly, Matt, I've got a few figures from the contract, apparently, apparent figures anyway, rumored figures. At most, I think they could have earned $400 million over the lifetime of the contract, with bonuses thrown in and stuff like that. But they were guaranteed at least $2.5 million per year. So, I mean, times that by 6, that's how much they've made so far.
Yeah, it's nowhere near enough to market a game, to publish or market a game.
Especially a AAA.
Yeah, it is a big AAA title. But yeah, like I said, the writing's been on the wall for a long time, if you ask me. Because obviously there's a hardcore sect of fans, which we've discussed, Perks being one of them, that really likes this game, but it just hasn't improved enough to warrant continual sort of funds going into it, and it hasn't evolved in gameplay wise, and it hasn't evolved sales wise either. So it's a no-brainer for me to, like, from an executive standpoint. If I was an Activision executive, I'd probably be doing the same thing, to be honest with you, because it looks like it's going nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, picking up again on that, with the Destiny 1 sales, it was believed that it made around $325 million over its lifetime, and then Destiny 2 sales are rumoured to be 50% less with physical sales. Obviously, that doesn't take into account digital sales, but we doubt that it makes up the gap left from the 50% less physical sales.
No, definitely not. I think there's obviously, it'd make up maybe 10, 15, 20% at most, but, there's still going to be a deficit there. It's interesting. I don't know if any of you three saw this, but I did see one interesting point about, we're talking about what are Bungie going to do next in terms of marketing and things like that. I don't know if you might have seen it, Matt. Phil Spencer has been very cozy on Twitter with Bungie. Kept replying to their tweets, saying about them being independent now and stuff. I do wonder whether, you never know. Maybe who says that Microsoft won't, put their money behind Destiny 3? It wouldn't
shock me if they picked them up, but I think it'd be a bad move, to be honest with you.
Didn't we talk about this a couple of weeks ago, actually? We speculated that Bungie and Microsoft could possibly link back up in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it would be, you might be right, Matt, about maybe financially it might not make great sense, but Microsoft at the minute, I think financials aren't really there. That's not what they get. They're going for more PR at the minute, aren't they? Because they need to improve their image, especially with hardcore gamers. So I do wonder whether it could be a good PR move to say, well, look, Activision have gone and we can step in and help, fund Destiny 3, and they'd obviously get some sort of good marketing deal for that, and maybe the exclusive content. It might be a good move. Who knows?
So, do we think this is a fail then? From Activision, they're obviously going to be disappointed, and are we assuming then that this
Destiny
is a fail?
as a whole?
Yeah, Destiny, the whole contract, everything that came with it, or Activision?
Yeah, Activision will see it as a massive failure, absolute massive failure. They pumped a lot of money into it, and they put a lot of faith in the developer, and it's nowhere near delivered the amount of sales that they'd probably expect. So it's one of them.
Yeah, I think I actually referenced it a few weeks back. I think Activision's vision, for lack of a better term, for Destiny was for it to be what Fortnite is now and for what Battle Royale games are now. They thought in this period of time between sort of then when they first entered into this and to now, they thought that shared world shooters and MMORPGs, whatever you'd want to call them, they would be what leads the way in gaming right now. So they would be expecting to be sort of world domination in terms of their product or the product that they support anyway. And it just hasn't worked that way. So they would definitely see it as a fail.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, that I didn't want to write it off as a complete fail. But having seen this news with Activision, I mean, it's hard to say it hasn't failed, because if it was successful, they wouldn't be ending the contract, would they? So,
I think it depends.
Anyway,
just on that point, not to sort of cut you off, but it's if they have different interpretations of what success and what failure is. Bungie is thinking that they're succeeding from a development and a gameplay perspective, and Activision are thinking, well, I don't care about that. They're thinking from a financial aspect, we're failing. So it's a bit of a blurred line, I think, between why it should be considered a failure. But I mean, look, the bottom line is that regardless of whether it's a massive failure or a small one, it hasn't worked as they expected it to. So that suggests it hasn't quite gone the way that anyone expected.
Yeah, that's a good point. And just going back to Activision for a second, just one point I'd like to say is, a question for you three, really. What do we think that Activision are going to do now in terms of, because they'll obviously have a surplus now of funds to be able to fund something else, you would imagine. Now, are they going to pump it into COD? Are they going to fund another studio with something new? What do we think they're going to do?
I'm not really sure, because obviously the past few weeks have just been, the past few months from Activision has mainly been negativity, hasn't it? They're disappointed with Destiny.
Yeah.
They're disappointed with the COD sales. Everything
disappointed with COD sales, but you've got to take that into context, haven't you? I mean, that game still sells ridiculous amounts. I mean, I know I think the sales are down from the last game, World War II, but they're still ridiculous sales. That game will still sell 20, 30 million a year. So I don't think they'll say it's a total failure. This year's Call of Duty, but I just wonder whether they'll pump more money into COD. Will they fund something new? It's interesting to see what happens there, because you'd imagine they'll do something.
Well, I'm not sure
access.
With all what they believe or perceive to be negative. I'm not sure if this will make them play safe and maybe look to pump money into a trusted product like COD, usually with the past few years, or be a bit more risky and, like you said, go for something completely new.
Well, I'm just trying to think if they'd maybe go for something that's up and coming. Some developer that they see as up and coming. Mm-hmm. I don't know, though. We'll have to see, but it's an interesting one.
What do you think, Perks?
Yeah, I'm not sure how they'll come at it. And I think it's important to remember that when they sort of backed Destiny, I know Bungie weren't an up-and-coming developer. They already had Halo behind them. But Destiny was nothing, right? Destiny was a new IP, so they backed that quite extensively with the $500 million 10-year deal. So they've already done that. And I think if you look back to the sort of financial call that we talked about before, I don't think there's any definitive quotes on this sort of to back this up, but there was definitely whispers from Activision and certain parts of that sort of financial call that they had was that they wanted to compete with Fortnite. That was because Fortnite's the biggest and they want to be a part of that. So whatever they do next would probably suggest that they're trying to reach those heights, and they're trying to sort of, I don't know, back a project that I wouldn't say beats Fortnite, because I don't think anything would be capable even in the near or midterm future.
Yeah.
But whatever they do next, I mean, if that was their heights, and if they're breaking from Destiny and they're breaking from Bungie because it's not hitting the right financial figures, why would they look to back something that's basically a shot in the dark? I would expect them to go hard on whatever they do next.
Yeah.
So do you think they'll just put more money behind Call of Duty then, pretty much, because with Blackout and, maybe the next... Well, you'd imagine from now on, Call of Duty is going to have Blackout in some form from now on.
Yeah.
I can't see a new... I can't see Call of Duty coming out now without Blackout or some form of it. So are they just going to put more money behind that and make it more Fortnite-ish? Or...
I mean, it's frustrating to say, because we're not... As much as we're enjoying Blackout, I think we're all a little bit sort of disenchanted with Battle Royale in general terms.
Yeah.
Who knows, in a year's time, is it still going to be what it is now? It's obviously up to them to sort of try and predict that and get behind whichever market they think is going to be big in a year to 2 years' time. So there's no crystal ball with it, but right now, obviously, that's what's selling.
I did read yesterday, actually, that apparently the genre of Battle Royale is on the decline in terms of the numbers of players, people dropping off. But at the same time, because it's been so big,
it's hard to
judge, really, because it's still massive. So it's still got legs in it.
Well, it's not going to last forever, is it? Nothing lasts forever.
No.
Especially in gaming. These trends come and go. I mean, it used to, at one point it was multiplayer when that first came out, wasn't it? With Xbox Live, with the original Xbox, that was massive. It took off. Mm-hmm. I know multiplayer's still big now, and then it was like the co-op shooter, the sort of 2-player co-op shooter, and then it was the 4-player co-op shooter that was big, and and then it was MMOs, and now it's Battle Royale. Something else will overtake it, at some point.
Yeah.
So
it's not any particular genre, it's just what innovates in a clever way and sort of taps into what people didn't know they want, but all of a sudden now want it. Which is a hard thing to do, because obviously you don't know what the next trends are going to be. And when there is a new trend, obviously everyone copies it. Everyone's seen the Battle Royale trend. Everyone's trying to copy it. You got COD Battle Royale. You got Battlefield Battle Royale. You get FIFA Battle Royale in the way it's going.
That'd make the game better.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be good.
I mean, you're trying to dribble around with Messi with thousands of angry fans trying to 2-foot you or something.
Build a fence in front of the goal.
And it becomes comical, but that's the trend. People see Battle Royale, they see that's where the money is, and that's where they direct their sort of efforts towards. So obviously it's hard to know what the next trend is going to be in gaming, but it's nice to see innovation. It's nice to see games in general as a whole being so successful. And obviously the more success you have in the industry, the more likely you're going to get developers taking risks. So,
true. What are your thoughts, Matty, on Activision's next play then? Do you think they'll play it safe?
With Destiny or just in general?
No, Activision in general after this. Do you think their next massive project is going to be more safe, like Sud was referring to, putting money into COD, or do you think they're going to go for something fresh and a bit more risky?
I mean, it'd be nice to see them put money into a new IP. They weren't scared of putting into, like you've already discussed, they weren't scared of putting in that money to Destiny. They just obviously didn't get the returns, and that's something that you risk when you pump a lot of money into a new IP. It's not always guaranteed to succeed. It is obviously a very risky venture. So hopefully, for the sake of the industry and just innovation in general, they fund a new IP, but I think they might just play it safe and sort of analyze what the trends are for a few years.
Yeah,
I think COD is a weird one, because I think when Black Ops 4 first came out, I don't think originally they would have been happy with the sales, but it seems to be continually selling. That's kind of what you get with these Battle Royale games. They carry on selling for a longer period of time than what certain developers are used to.
Yeah, no, definitely. Picking up on one point though, from my opinion with Activision and Bungie, I know it's a new IP and I know it is a bit risky, but don't you think as well, there's a bit of safety to it because of Bungie's name. There's so many Halo fans, and they see Bungie's making a new IP, they're gonna try it. So
Yeah, definitely.
if you manage to hit gold with that, or strike gold with that initial swarm of players coming in, then you've got a massive market to play with.
Yeah, and I think what they tried to do, especially with the original Destiny, was because they knew that Bungie fans, Xbox Bungie fans, were going to buy a Bungie product regardless. So they probably thought, well, we've got, the Xbox side unlocked, they'll buy Destiny, whatever. But I think the one thing they had to do was try and get Sony fans to get behind Bungie and the name. So I think that's, why they went with the marketing on PlayStation 4, especially, PlayStation 4 as well, obviously, it had a good first year and things like that, so it made it easier, really, to do that. But I think that's why they went for the marketing on PS4. And you can say it worked because it had strong PS4 sales, but also Destiny sold well on Xbox as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's what they tried to do. And that's, that was their fallback, wasn't it? They knew Bungie was a big developer, especially for Xbox, and they knew they had the Xbox side on lock. It was just about getting the Sony fans on board, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I also feel like some Sony fans, if they hadn't played Halo but they've heard all these good things about it, would be surely intrigued to try a Bungie product as a result.
Oh yeah, that's it. And the fact that they see that, we're getting these skins first, or we're getting this exclusive raid or whatever it was, or exclusive strike or whatever. I don't think there was actually exclusive raid. I think it was exclusive strikes, but yeah, I mean, that's obviously an incentive, isn't it, to get the game on PlayStation? So.
Yeah, it really is. I guess then the last point on this topic would be, what do we see for the future of Destiny, with Destiny 3 and obviously Bungie assuming full responsibility for it? Do you think it's going to be a death?
It's a throwaway comment, but it shouldn't be ruled out completely. I think I want to come at it from the angle of the future of Bungie and kind of Destiny just to begin with, but also going forward. I mean, Bungie, since they've entered into this agreement with Activision, and I'll come at it from the angle of the community, no one likes Activision who plays Destiny, right? Bungie is God, and Activision is the devil, and everything that goes wrong with the franchise is Activision's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Bungie have always had that shield for some reason, and it's strange, right? Because Bungie have made loads of bad development decisions and loads of bad financial decisions within the game that Activision have always had to not take the fall for, but they're the ones that are always getting hit by the shells for it. And it's things like the Eververse, which, for those that don't know, that's the sort of microtransaction side to Destiny, where you can buy weapon skins and emotes and, just general things like that.
Usual garbage you can buy on most games these days.
And that was not Activision's idea, that was Bungie's idea. So it's a little bit strange for Bungie now, in the sense that everybody from the community is thinking Bungie are free, they're going to start delivering this, that, and the other. But now they don't have a fallback. Now they don't have a shield. They don't have anyone to say, oh yeah, but this is Activision's fault.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe for the next sort of 12 months or so, they can still use that excuse, because obviously, things aren't developed the day before they come out. Things have already been in place. So they probably have another year or so left of using, the Activision shield to deflect. But going forward, I mean, Activision's sort of annual sort of pressures, I guess, if you like, Destiny's always had to release DLC packs that were, Bungie have always had to release DLC packs for Destiny that have been substandard. And then they get to release their yearly big one, which is really, really good. But everything around that has been crap. And it's always been, well, it's Activision. They're putting too much pressure on us to churn out the content.
Mm-hmm.
So now that that's gone, do they just deliver?
They're a bit more vulnerable now, aren't they?
Yeah, because what I think is going to happen, and obviously I could be wrong with this, I think you'll start to see the smaller DLC packs just disappear. So whilst people don't like them anyway, at least they kind of exist, and people are like, oh, well, it's new content, it's something different for the time being until we hit the major one, which is typically a September release for them. I think that will probably go now, because Bungie don't have that pressure to deliver what Activision want. This is what you have to do on a yearly basis. This is the annual schedule.
Do they have the resources to do that? Going on their own?
Well,
financially... Go ahead.
I was just going to cut in here, because this is actually about the finances that I was going to cut in on. I think, you were saying about is Destiny sort of doomed, I suppose, or what's the future of Destiny? I do, especially with the timing of the split. I feel like maybe they've got something up the sleeve with someone else. I do. I think maybe it's early stage talks or something like that. But it wouldn't shock me if they've already got some sort of deal, maybe not in place, but early talks of maybe they're talking with Microsoft, maybe they're talking with Sony, maybe it's another someone else. But I can't envisage a scenario where they're just going to go, oh, we're just going to go on our own, because like Matty said, I don't think. Short term they might be able to fund the game, but I don't think long term they're going to be able to fund a Destiny 3 without some financial partner to back them up. So I do think there might be something in the works. And, I'm not saying it's definitely going to be Microsoft, but, all this cozy talk with Phil Spencer, you just never know, do you? You just never know. And I can just envisage something happen. I've just got it in my head that something might be in the works. Maybe not to be announced for a while, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go with someone else.
I guess a lot of it really depends for me on, we know Destiny 3 has been in production for a long time already. Yeah. It's not a rumor, it's just a poorly kept secret. I guess it depends how far along the road Destiny 3 actually is. Obviously games can get cancelled a couple of weeks before they're due to come out, so there's no sort of safety net on the fact that just because Destiny 3 is in development that it's actually going to see the light of day.
I wouldn't be too worried about that. I'm fairly confident we will see Destiny 3 because, like you said, development's probably quite far now anyway. Into development now anyway. Obviously, they're going to need more money for to finish the development, but a lot of the money now they're going to need is for marketing for the new game.
I think that's my point, right? The development is already there. It's just bringing it to market and sort of trying to not let it just squirm over the line, because no one wants to see a Destiny 3 that's pointless. If they're going to do it, they might as well sort of one last hurrah, go hard or go home. You talked about new sort of financial partners there. I think about 6 or 7 months ago, Bungie did get an investment from a Chinese publisher, or maybe not publisher, but it's called NetEase. They're a company that basically provide online services. So they run things like, Diablo 3, Overwatch, World of Warcraft in the sort of Chinese market.
Yeah.
So, I don't for one second believe the money they got from them. It was rumored to be over 100 million, which is obviously no small amount for a game. I don't think it's going to be part of the Destiny franchise, but I think just to sort of reference that happening as a thing, they're not going to be short of people wanting to get involved, even if it is just for that last hurrah. I don't know. I think now Bungie are exposed, and what they do next, whether it's sort of finishing Destiny 2 on a high, going on to Destiny 3 and making sure it's not a flop, they now sort of, they have no one to answer to. They're independent again as of now, I guess, and what they do next has to be strong.
Another company I'd just add as well, we're saying about, which type of companies is Tencent, who are very big now in the East, and they've been making their way into Western markets, and they're making a big push into Western markets. And wouldn't be surprised if someone like that, you just never know. I know Tencent, many people might not have heard of them, but they're a pretty big name now in development and publishing in China. And, the Chinese gaming market is booming, isn't it now? So we could see something strange like that, a Chinese sort of something like that, maybe coming in and pumping money in to try and get traction in the West. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think time will tell, but it does seem like maybe they do have something in the works, like you were saying, at least initial talks with...
I just get that sense.
Yeah, their investment.
Because I think, I don't know, I just get that sense there is something cooking up, because
it'd be risky
timing
to go
of it
on
at
your
the start of the year.
money.
And I agree. And I think the sign, I haven't seen any worrying. I know obviously they're not going to come out and say like we're worried, but I haven't seen any worrying signs from Bungie, like really panicking. So I don't know. I just get the sense something's going on.
It feels a bit more calculated rather than knee jerk.
That's what I was thinking. And we haven't seen rumours, have we? Like, it's not like this has been brewing up for. I know there's been rumours of maybe a split, but it's not been like vicious rumours like, oh, Bungie are in serious trouble or anything like that, So I do wonder whether something's going on.
Behind the scenes, Bungie are all just locked in their own offices, eating beans with a big, massive help sign in the window.
Yeah, that's another way of looking at it, but possibly.
Yeah, that's true.
They're playing it cool. The PR guy is just like, yeah, we've got the money to last. This is our IP. We'll do what we want with it. And then literally as soon as he turns off his PC, he's there just, screaming.
Screaming help.
But there's no one left to hear it.
In 2 weeks.
Maybe they're going to do the Rockstar tactic of like 200-hour work weeks or something, like on 10p an hour to get the game done.
Oh, horrific. Well, when I just was thinking then about Bungie, is it similar to BioWare, where we're thinking now if Destiny 3 fails, that Bungie, that could be it for them?
I don't know. I feel like a studio like Bungie would always get picked up by somebody, whereas I'm not sure that's the case with BioWare. I think there's a difference. I think Bungie have
how much of their talent's already jumped ship, you never know.
Yeah.
True,
Yeah, that is
point.
true. I mean, they could all jump ship again, couldn't they? I mean, it'd be interesting to see if any jump ship now that this deal's expired. But
Well, they want to jump ship, but they're in the middle of the ocean, stranded. So just sort of get washed away.
I would assume, though, that Bungie are in a... If I had to guess right now, I think Bungie are in a better position than BioWare are right now.
I'd assume
Personally.
so too.
I think, especially with Anthem coming out, it really is like nail-biting stuff for BioWare, I think, now, with Anthem. I think if Anthem doesn't do big numbers, or at least sufficient numbers for their expectations, EA's it's a similar type deal, isn't it, with EA? EA and Activision are very similar type companies in the way they operate and the way they act. So it's very similar situations, but I still think Bungie I would put in a slightly stronger position.
I feel like we'll get a better sense or idea nearer Destiny 3, because obviously rumours start trickling out, don't they? Like, this is it for Bungie. They've maybe, like Matty said, they lose some more talent and
Possibly.
people start speculating then as a result. But
I was just going to say one more point as well about losing talent. I mean, that's what's happened at BioWare, isn't it? They've still got some of the original Mass Effect and Dragon Age people, but there's not many left now. So,
true, and basically the heart and soul of the
that's it.
of the team, isn't it?
The more people that leave, the less heart and soul the game will probably have.
I know we're not sort of going into this too much in terms of the topics right now, but I don't know if any of you guys actually saw the IGN exclusive for Anthem the other day. They released the first sort of meaty gameplay chunk. It was a good sort of 10 minutes of
didn't see it. Was it any
showing
good?
it off, and let me tell you now, it's Mass Effect with Destiny. It couldn't be more similar to, and if you don't like Destiny, then you're not going to like Anthem. It's as simple as that.
This is what it was rumoured to be from the start as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, everything screams a Destiny and Mass Effect hybrid. It's you look at the enemies' health bars, shields, the way that you buff and debuff things. It's all the sort of things that you love from Mass Effect or know from Mass Effect, put into an exploration space, which you could easily confuse for Destiny if the game wasn't set in third person. So, yeah.
I did also see, I don't know if it was from the IGN gameplay, or did they have like the first reveal or something? Is that what it was? The first reveal of some gameplay, maybe that's what it was. But I did see a lot of people, like industry, people that are in the know, being concerned about the game. In terms of maybe it's not as good as we think it's going to be. I mean, like some industry insiders that have, seen a lot of the game and stuff hands-on, we're a little bit concerned about, the longevity of the game and the state the game is going to be in when it launches. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
I mean, they could be completely wrong, but
you've just sort of set it up perfectly for me. When it launches, they've actually advertised things like public events, which is Destiny, and they've advertised not to sort of be able to nail the quest from exactly what it is to what it finishes, but in that 10 minutes you actually get to see it, and it's essentially what we already have in a different game. And don't get me wrong, it looks okay. It looks like it would be quite fun for a while, but it seems to me that it's going to be a bog standard experience that's going to grow old and pretty quickly. It will fall if it's as they've released the first 10 minutes, well, not the first 10 minutes, but a 10-minute snippet, you'd think they'd show off all the great ideas they've had. And what they've basically shown is 10 minutes of what Destiny would look like if it was Mass Effect. And that, I don't think, is going to enthuse too many people. The last 3 minutes or so of the video is a duo, like a fire team or whatever they're going to call it with the javelins. They're shooting this bullet sponge boss, and the boss is doing the same attacks repeatedly. There's no variety in it, and you just think, this is not what they needed to do. This is a miss. Like this, if they go down that route, and that's what they're going to show off of being, oh hey, look, this is the exclusive first look. What's the rest of the game going to be like?
Well, I've got a question for you, Perks. Just because, Destiny, we know which way that game's gone. We've covered it, like it feels like for a million
times.
Yeah, on this podcast. And when that game came out, me, you, and Sud played it extensively.
Yeah.
What we ended up doing after the first week was killing ourselves by jumping off a cliff, respawning, running full pelt into a load of mob of enemies, shooting them, and then looking for legendary engrams on the floor, and if we didn't get any legendary engrams, jumping off a cliff and repeating that while I was listening to Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley on repeat like 5,000 times. That
had to get through it somehow.
Memory. Yeah, that is my endearing memory of Destiny. And I was just sitting there, and I almost just put the controller down and looked at my own hands like, what am I doing with my life? And just turned the game off because I couldn't take it anymore. Do you see Anthem going down the same route as that after like 2 weeks?
I think it's going to be exactly that. And I've said on this podcast before, if you don't like X, you're not going to like Y or Z, because these games are all the same at heart. And whilst they come with different skins and different environments and, different terminology for the things that they do, the good and the evil as part of them, and the quests and public events, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, basically, I can't remember which reviewer it was that got the hands-on for the IGN exclusive, but they actually said in the short time they had, they found themselves repeating the same quests to get different loot. And you just thought, that's one of the major problems that people had with The Division. It's one of the main problems that people have with Destiny, is that you're doing the same thing repeatedly on the hope that you get something different at the end of it. It's the same. They've already released that it's the same, and I just think the warning signs have to be so clear for anyone that's expecting anything different.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say there. I suppose I'll try and play devil's advocate a little bit with it. I think we have to be careful. They've only shown 10 minutes of game. I mean, we've seen gameplay at E3 before that, but this first look wasn't sort of 2 hours of gameplay. It was 10 minutes. So
how worried are you, though, that in 10 minutes they've shown repetition? You think if they're going to show off 10 minutes, they have to sell that game to people. This is the world exclusive first 10 minutes chunk that they've shown.
Maybe,
and it's repetitive.
Yeah. Maybe not the best first 10 minutes to show, but we've got to take them at face value in what they say, and they've said, haven't they, that it's going to be a rich narrative experience. So I'm going to take them at face value, and when I buy the game, if it's not a rich narrative experience, then you can say they've sold us, they sold us a lie, because that is what they clearly said. That was their, thing that they tried to say, was the thing that was different from sort of The Division and Destiny, was this was going to be a Mass Effect type, space opera story, but with the Destiny MMO elements, which I think that's what most people wanted from the game, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
yeah, but they also said Mass Effect Andromeda was going to be a AAA game. We all know how that ended up at the start.
Well, I mean, we differ on that, don't we? Because I think us three actually quite enjoyed Mass Effect Andromeda, but it was clearly a departure from the first three. But
yeah, it had its problems.
I think the game got.
The animations of people's faces looked like they were still in alpha testing.
The graphics were subpar.
I didn't actually experience that many glitches or animation bugs, really, to be honest. I think I might have got lucky, but my game was running quite smoothly.
You on that. Yeah, the same thing happened to me, but I don't, we should freely admit that we saw them all sort of not first hand, third hand. I mean, we saw how bad they were.
Definitely.
But, I mean, coming back to your point there, Sid, in terms of, this is what we wanted from Anthem, right? Richer narrative experiences, but also the good things from previous shared world shooters. My question to you would be this, right? If Anthem delivers a AAA sort of 9 to 9.5 out of 10 narrative experience. But between sort of points A to B to C and how the story progresses, you've got to do 75 to 100 hours of grinding the same thing repeatedly to be able to get there. How do you feel about that? Would that be something that interests you, or is that like, hey, we don't really care about what your story is because to get from point A to B is just not fun?
Well, I think the first thing I'd say about that is that Destiny 2, I didn't think Destiny 2's story was amazing, but it definitely, it was a coherent story. And it managed to do that in a way where you had to grind a little bit, of course, but it managed to do it in a way where, what would you say the length of Destiny's story was? 10 hours? 15 hours? Something like that?
In terms
maybe
of
a little
grinding
bit more,
to
maybe
get
20
there,
hours.
No, I think probably less. I think
Yeah,
I would say
long.
less because I'm a hardcore player and I understand how to progress quickly. So I'd say probably about 8 hours, maybe less.
That was a nice encompassing story, and I don't think too many people moaned about not being able to get to the end of the story, did they? In Destiny 2, without having to grind too much. I think you had to grind a little bit, but I don't remember struggling really to get to the end of the game with having to grind. So I think that's the first thing to point out, is that if that's what they should be trying to achieve, a solid, maybe a little bit longer. They can say 25 to, as long as it's not like 100 hours to complete the story, which would be totally ridiculous, I think. But if it's a good 25, 30, 35 hour experience where, you have to do a bit of grinding, you expect that in these shared world shooters. But the thing for me is, you're looking at Anthem perks, obviously, as you'd be wanting this to play this game for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. For me, I just want a good game for a month, 2 months. So we're probably looking at this from different angles. Because if the story's really good to me, that's the main thing to me. If the game down the line, 2 months down, has no content, and I'm not really as bothered, because for me it's more of a short-termish game where I'm not looking. I can't see myself playing Anthem in 2 years' time, for example. Whereas if you really love the game perks and it was incredible and better than Destiny, you maybe would play the game in 2 years' time. I think that's the difference, I'd say, as well. Depends what you want out of the game.
Have any of you guys tried Star Wars: The Old Republic, which was online? That was done by BioWare as well.
No, but I've heard it's pretty good now.
See, I enjoyed that. It had a little bit of story to it, obviously with different paths you select to go down. And that was enough to keep me going and playing. And me, I didn't really like Destiny enough to try and carry on. I feel like if you give me enough of a story, doesn't have to be the best, but enough to keep me wanting to go on and grind to get to the next part of the story, then it's something I can enjoy.
Yeah, didn't that game have like a really epic trailer? That's what it's quite famous for.
The trailers are great really trailer. Good. Yeah, they had a few.
Really good.
They had a few. But
the Old Republic especially.
But that's what I mean.
Honestly, I think on this topic it's quite strange because we're not talking here about a purely narrative experience. We're not talking about a 6 to 8 hour BioShock or something that we touched on last week. Shared world shooters are supposed to have legs. They're supposed to be, this is the story. Yeah, this is okay. What comes next? The shared world shooter genre has to appeal to the sort of what's next. It's always what's the next content, what's the next thing that we're working towards. They're not really designed, and I'm not trying to sort of rule certain types of players like you guys out of them, but when these games are developed, they're not developed with the mindset of let's please people from a story point of view and then the game can go away for them. They want that continual engagement, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, whatever it might be. That's what Anthem needs to be. So if Anthem's story is fantastic, just to elaborate on the point a bit more, and you can get through it quite quickly, and it's a 9 or a 10 out of 10 from a narrative point of view, but from a shared world point of view and from a sort of progressive point of view, it's crap. Does that make the game good or bad? Is that a success or a failure? I don't know. I just think from what I've seen, I'm just going to say from what I've seen so far, I know exactly what to expect from Anthem, and I just don't want people to fool themselves. It's there for all to see, and if you've got any kind of mid to long-term experience with Destiny or The Division, you know what Anthem is now. They've revealed it, they've shown it, and in 10 minutes, you can absolutely call it.
Yeah, I suppose in terms of, like you said, in terms of the gameplay and how it's going to work, the one thing you would say, though, Percy, is you'd probably surely have to agree with this, is the story is the one element where it's still up in the air. We don't know how strong it's going to be. It could be it could be really weak and it could be nothing like what was promised, or it could be really strong and it could be a new turning point for this genre.
Yeah, it's
We just don't
absolutely
know
up in the air because they've been very vague so far, which is either a good thing or a bad thing because they don't want to show off too much.
True.
But I mean, I'm excited for the story because I think they've got so much freedom to work with in the universe that they've sort of, put us in there. I don't know how I'd view it, right? If I play through Anthem for the first sort of 10, 20 hours, I complete the campaign, the story side of things, and I think that's great. But then what comes after is not great. I'm not going to think that's a good game.
No. Yeah.
So I don't really... I would rather a sort of 6, 7 out of 10 story and a 9, 10 out of 10 end game than the other way around. But that's just me, and that's how I see those games.
Yeah. See, I'm the other way around, though. And I think, Luke, you'd be probably similar to me in terms of I'd rather have the 9.5 out of 10 story and the 6 out of 10 end game content.
Well,
but that's probably just the different types of gamers we are, maybe, or have, become over the years. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's subjective to the genre, though, right? Because you guys know I love a single player story as much as you and as much as the next guy, but I just want to see it in the right place. Like I'm under no illusions. We're never going to have a shared world title that has the most perfect story and the most perfect endgame content. It's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. So yeah, in terms of like 10-hour single player story experiences, of course I want that to be great and the tacked on multiplayer to suck because no one cares. But I think for a game like this, it has to have the primary focus has to be on what comes after the narrative, and that. I guess it's open to interpretation. Everyone will have a different opinion on it, but that's just my take on a game that falls into that genre particularly.
To be honest, I'm happy with a mix. You said the story can be 6 or 7, the end game being 9 or whatever. I'd actually be happy with something like that, as long as the story isn't something like a 2. And I just think, I can't even be bothered to progress because it just hasn't hooked me.
Yeah, no one wants that.
Yeah.
No, so I'm happy with a 6 or 7 and a game that I get a lot of hours out of as a result. I'm hoping it will do that.
What are our expectations, though? Because I think we should have very high expectations, and maybe we should be more ambitious and say, well, no, that's not acceptable. It should be at least an 8.5 story and an 8.5 endgame content. I think that's the standards we should hold this game to, because it's not just us that have bigged this game up. The EA have bigged this game up. BioWare are bigging this game up. So maybe we should expect more.
EA need this game to be big. EA desperately need this game to be big because they've had a bad 2018 sales-wise. Battlefield 5 sales were terrible. Horrific. I think compared to what they thought they'd get from it. FIFA down year on year. Still obviously did well enough, but there's been a massive drop-off of players in Ultimate Team, especially, which obviously is their big money spinner throughout the year. So yeah, EA need this game to be big, unfortunately, for BioWare, because I don't think it's going to be as big as EA are hoping.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say, Matt. I would say that EA have probably got cash reserves to last them quite a while, but I know what you're saying in terms of
they've got cash reserves, but they can't just keep churning out failure after failure.
Yeah.
Like, you'd fear
when
more.
They've got shareholders to answer to.
We wouldn't fear for EA, though, would we? It'd be fearing for BioWare and other studios they've got. It'd be, because EA will, it'd be fine. They'd just carry on making their FIFAs and stuff. It's just that we don't want to see EA become this company that only makes FIFA and Battlefield, do we, forever? Or, Star Wars games. We want them to make, we want them to fund.
I want them to lose a Star Wars IP.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. But I'm just trying to say in terms of it'd be nice to see EA fund more single-player only games, or like they're doing in the indie scene, or funding games like Anthem or new IPs. We don't want them to completely lose that, because I think they'd just become even worse if they only had FIFA and, say, Battlefield. It'd just be, I don't know, they'd just be a shell of a company, wouldn't they? So,
yeah, they probably would.
Yeah,
they probably would. However, we'll move on to another topic of a game that's done pretty well, but a company that's under a little bit of fire. It's Fortnite developers Epic Games. It's been revealed that they've got an F, or a rating of an F, from the Better Business Bureau. They allegedly granted the rating due to unanswered customer complaints, stating that 279 complaints have been filed against the business, but 247 have gone without a response. So
Yeah,
basically, just putting your head in the sand and hoping it'll disappear. Most complaints as well have to do with customer service and issuing refunds. A lot of parents there probably unhappy with their kid nicking their credit card and buying skins left,
Well,
right,
this
and
is the
centre.
problem. Like, I don't understand. I understand why it's been given an F, because obviously there would have been a hell of a lot of complaints from parents who have left their credit cards on the console, and then the kids, the little Jimmies, got to call them out, have bought £1,000 worth of V-Bucks so they can get their skins, and then Brenda's run downstairs and just seen minus £1,000 in a bank account and gone mental. I've had it in my work, numerous times, people coming in buying the digital cards off the shelf because they don't want to give their credit card information or debit card information on the actual console anymore. But I don't really see what that has to do with Fortnite. I mean, the currency is non-refundable. It's stated, clearly in the terms and conditions. So I don't, as much as I'd like to sit here and hate on Fortnite, I don't really see where this has come from and what the point in it is, to be honest. I'm pretty sure, the Better Business Bureau can give them an F, till the cows come home. They're just laughing their way to the bank. And
With Brenda's credit card.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've
That's
run
a
off
good
with
point.
Brenda's credit card. They don't care.
I think what I'd say about it is you've got to remember as well, I'm coming at it from the point of view of, I suppose, defending Epic in a way, because that game is so big. How many complaints must they get anyway? Like, I mean, it must be unimaginable. Like, I can't imagine how much they have to deal with this in terms of people phoning up or people emailing them. It must be mad how much they have to deal with, because people it's just a fact of life, isn't it? People hate things that are popular. A lot of the time have become popular. It's like, the old, it's like the Call of Duty trailers every year, isn't it, on YouTube? They get like 20,000 likes and like 200,000 dislikes, even though there's nothing wrong with the trailer, just because people are like, oh, fuck you, Call of Duty, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. Middle finger to the man.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. So you do wonder whether this is more of a, what's the highest rating they could possibly get anyway? Because they're never going to get an A, are they? Because people, it's just not going to happen with a big company like that. It's like the Metacritic, when you see critic scores of, say, you maybe look at, I'm not sure Fortnite's been reviewed on Metacritic, but I'll just go back to Call of Duty. You see it getting like an 85 or whatever on Metacritic from critics, and then you look at the user score and it's like 1.8, and it's like, well, that's clearly not a true representation of what people feel about the game. It's just, so I'd look at it from that point of view and personally, and think, well, they're going to get tons of complaints. They're going to get tons of people moaning about, little Jimmy spent mummy's credit card, money on mummy's credit card. It's like, they're going to get tons of that. So it's hard for them to manage. And so it's maybe a bit of an unfair rating.
It's what comes with the territory. I'd just like to take a minute to apologise to anyone offended. I said middle finger to the man. I also mean middle finger to the woman as well. just in case, guys.
Middle
and
finger
girls.
to the person.
Yeah, the person, the human being. So there we go.
I think that was you just mentioned that they were never going to get an A. I mean, they were never going to get an A from the BBB anyway, because Epic aren't affiliated with it, and we know how companies like that work, right? If you go pay the sort of subscription fee, then you're always going to get marked with crap ratings. I think the funniest thing from this, or at least when I was reading into the article and sort of diving a bit deeper, is that the figures you said before, Luke, about the number of unanswered complaints. These people are complaining to the wrong place. It's like, there's no affiliation between Epic and the BBB. So we're going to complain to the BBB about Epic, in which they can have no input or control. It doesn't make sense, right? And Epic even said this. They said it's redirected all the complaints that went to the BBB to the Epic customer support site. So just complain to the right people, guys. You'll get a response. Like, it's bizarre.
We can't refund you, Brenda. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Have a word with little Jimmy.
All these unanswered complaints.
Little Jimmy has spent that £1,000 and you are never getting it back.
No, but you can do a nice
especially if you
dance.
complain to the wrong people, right? It's like I just don't understand. There's a lot of uneducated people out there, and Brenda's probably one of them, or Brian for those that would be affected by that.
Brenda and Brian. Could you imagine how annoying that would be to come downstairs one day and it's just like £1,000 from your bank? You're like, what the hell? And you'd turn around, little Jimmy's there dancing away on Fortnite, like, yeah, I just bought this, man.
Well, you know, Epic customer support, if you are listening, if Brian does ring on the phone and complain, just make sure you don't refer to him as sir, because he may be a madam.
Oh yeah, like the girl/guy in GameStop or wherever it was. I can't remember. Jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, bottom line is, if you want to complain or try and claim back thousands of pounds worth of debt
Complain to
from
Epic, and not a
at
pointless
least
company
complain
that
to
I've
Epic.
only heard of just now. So, and they have,
bizarre.
you know, they have. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's like me texting. I don't know. It's like me texting someone on my phone contacts list called Bill, asking if Perks is out, and then not getting a response and being like, "Oh, well, Perks never texts me back."
Yeah, right.
I wonder why.
Ridiculous.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm pretty sure it won't hurt Fortnite's sales or Fortnite's revenue streams anyway. I think it'll be all right with its V-Bucks and stuff like that. However, moving on to someone who might not be all right in the near future, it's that
Theresa May.
Well, Theresa May, yeah. Hopefully she will be out of office. But then again, talking about CEO of Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, or as Matty calls him, Pitchfork, his former lawyer has accused him of taking a secret $12 million bonus and obviously paying himself $12 million dollars. We should stress that Gearbox have called the lawsuit absurd, so they obviously don't believe it, or believe that it's nonsense and just made up. How do we feel about this?
Does it say what the bonus was allegedly for? Was it just a personal bonus? Was it related to any specific game? Because if it was a bonus for Aliens Colonial Marines, then it's the biggest disgrace in the history of gaming. That is a scandal.
I think the main theme of it was that I think it was an executive bonus and something to do with loyalties relating to Borderlands being paid in advance.
Against Borderland profits, it was.
Yeah. So make of that what you will.
Yeah.
It seems to me like he's just trying to drain every penny he can before he becomes irrelevant.
Wasn't he already irrelevant?
Well, that's I mean, he's at.
The reason that I call him
yeah.
Randy Pitchfork is because that's actually what I thought his name was originally when he first
Not because you think he's a farmer.
Well, yeah, if this lawsuit, succeeds, then he probably will be a farmer in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, maybe. But I know this isn't really about Borderlands, but I just want to bring it up that it is disappointing, though, isn't it, that what they've done, or what under his stewardship has happened to Borderlands. I mean, no new game for... I mean, there's been remasters, but no new game for 6.5 years now. It's like, what is going on there? I mean, I know, obviously, they had... One of the reasons was the failed Battleborn experiment, and that must have put Gearbox back a long way, because that game...
That was a disaster.
Horribly. I mean, it came out in the same... 2016, wasn't it? Because it came out a couple of weeks before Overwatch, and Overwatch blew it out of the water.
I'm pretty sure
it was very close, wasn't
At least
it?
in the UK anyway, I know it was exactly the same day or something stupid.
And Overwatch absolutely destroyed it, and rightfully so, because by all accounts, a miles better game. But they got it wrong, didn't they, with Battleborn? And I think that took them back a bit. But even so, to not have a new Borderlands game this generation is so strange and
well, we know why now.
So annoying.
They couldn't afford it because Randy Pitchford kept taking money.
I'm hoping Borderlands 3,
allegedly
will be a thing soon. Well, yeah, allegedly. We should say allegedly.
Yeah,
We don't have the facts.
Randy might,
the complete facts
turn up
about it,
behind
but-
you with a pistol and just blow your brains out if
Yeah.
you keep saying
Or a-
that
or a
he took
pitchfork.
bombs.
Yeah, innocent until proven guilty and all that. But yeah, it's just disappointing with Borderlands because, you know, I mean, it could be another even 2, 3, 4 years away still. And if it ever comes out, I mean, would it really shock you if they suddenly turn around and say, "Oh, sorry"?
Well, this is
There
a
is no
question
Borderlands.
that I asked you guys off the podcast. Is this going to harm Borderlands? Because we talked about it last week about the rumors 2020.
I don't know if this lawsuit will harm Borderlands. I think it's a separate issue, really. But I think that what's been happening with Gearbox lately, since Battleborn, is worrying. I'd say that's a more bigger concern. There's been
It just
no
contributes.
information or
No, it just contributes to the negative brand image like that Gearbox has got in general, because they're already not a very liked publisher. Obviously, because of the Alien Colonial Marine scandal.
Oh wow, yeah, I forgot
everything.
about that.
Everything to do with like Randy Pitchford, Battleborn. Like they've been involved in a lot of bad PR, you know, news stories over the last few years, and obviously this just contributes to it.
What was the Colonial Marines one again? They said they were doing it, didn't they? Or developing, publishing, whatever. But they passed it on to a different studio without really telling anybody they had.
I think the biggest gripe that most people had was the trailer, because the trailer for Aliens Colonial Marines was literally a completely different game, and it looked really good. You know, you saw like gameplay footage of Aliens Colonial Marines apparently being developed by Gearbox. You know, it's going to be the Aliens game that everyone's always wanted, and it looked absolutely brilliant. And then you play Colonial Marines, and my God, that game was a complete and utter abomination.
Absolute trash. But you know what's funny about that? Did you hear the stories behind that? How one of the biggest problems with the game was the AI were absolutely horrific and broken, and it was a mistake, wasn't it, in the coding when it was being developed?
Yeah, someone went and fixed it.
Someone
it
went
wasn't
and
like a developer. It was just someone, you know, off the street.
Little Jimmy.
So that pretty much says it all, doesn't it? About how incompetent the development team must have been. That well, we don't know if it was Gearbox or whoever it was, whoever they palmed it off to. It just shows the incompetence, really.
Well, so it was more of a simple mistake.
Oh, don't get me wrong. The whole game was atrocious. It wasn't just like the alien AI was the only bad thing about the game.
Right, okay.
It looked atrocious. The gameplay was atrocious. The sound effects were atrocious. When I played it, you sort of had the trademark yellow construction bot that you got in, and you had to fight like a queen alien or something like that. And I kept killing it. And no matter what I did after I killed it, a gate was supposed to open, and the gate would just never open. I had to delete my entire save. I turned the game off, I cleared my cache, and I had to start the whole game again. And then it got to the point where, you know, I was probably 40% through the next playthrough, and I was just like, what the hell am I doing? And just turned it off and got rid of it.
I'm surprised you got as far as the next playthrough, to be honest.
Yeah, sounds like you had an enjoyable experience with it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great game.
Shocking game. And it always annoys everyone because everyone knows how much potential there is in the Aliens franchise to make a good Aliens game, and no one can ever do it.
Well,
Alien Isolation, yeah, but that's not an Aliens game. Like, Alien is more of like a survival horror. Obviously, the first film ran along those sort of similar lines where it was just one alien. Obviously, Aliens is, you know, a lot of smaller aliens, and it's more of like, you know, an all-out shooter, an action game. And obviously, everyone's dream is for that to be transferred into maybe like a good 4-player co-op shooter that's actually, you know, scary, has the like, moments of tension, playable. Yeah, it would make for a good game, but I just don't think it's ever going to happen now.
Yeah, it seems like an IP that's just crying out for a good game to be made. It's got the fan base, but I did hear though that Isolation was good. I believe I spoke to Perks about that game, and Perks loved it. If I remember correctly, anyway, Perks.
Yeah, definitely, because it was just what that sort of franchise needed. I mean, Alien is, in itself, it's always had these. If you remember, sort of back in the old day, it had RTS games. I can't even remember if it was under the Alien versus Predator sort of mantra, and it was just so bad it was untrue. And then obviously Colonial Marines.
Are you talking about the 360 game, Alien vs Predator?
Yeah, it was the RTS, and you thought. I mean, I was a big Command and Conquer fan back in the day, and I was quite excited to see that because obviously, you know, you combine that kind of thing with Alien, and you think this is going to be great, and it really wasn't. Colonial Marines was as a disaster, as you've already mentioned, but that's the problem with sort of outsourcing things to lesser companies anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, Isolation was sort of, I would say it was unexpected because, I mean, sooner or later they had to hit with the Alien theme, right? Sooner or later it had to find its place.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so I mean, whatever happens in the future with Alien as a theme, I'd like to see it sort of carry on down that road of survival horror, and it just worked. It was for me at least when I played it, I wasn't expecting much.
Yeah.
And it delivered big time.
Well, that game, you play that game on the hardest difficulty, you are in for one hell of a frightening time. Because I played it on hardest difficulty. It was scary, like very scary. Like, you're nervous to make one step when you know it's stalking you. It's horrible. It's a horrible game to play in a good way, if you know what I mean. It's If you like
the alien is supposed to be a very frightening creature. It's supposed to be something that you're scared of. In Alien Colonial Marines, the aliens ran at you looking like they were drunk trying to dance to Michael Jackson. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and when it gets to the point where you're shooting about 500,000 of them in the course of one playthrough, it's like, oh,
just
really?
not scary anymore, is it?
Whereas
that was the
Isolation was that. I mean, it wasn't just you that were isolated. There was one alien in Isolation, and it really sort of hit home where it needed to. So the more the merrier in terms of experiences they can deliver on that note.
I'm just picking up on one game that Sud mentioned, the one that was on 360. Did you guys play that Alien versus Predator? Because wasn't there like
it was
line shooter
action.
Yeah.
It was like it had a single player. I think it had 3 separate campaigns where he plays different factions or something. It had a multiplayer as well.
There was the Alien, there was the Predator, and then there was the Marines.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
It was a middling game, wasn't it? A sort of 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 experience. It wasn't awful. It wasn't good either, really.
Weren't one of the I don't know, was it the Predator that was really overpowered, or the Alien?
Oh, and the multiplayer,
yeah. Basically, if you're
way
Marine,
overpowered, I can't remember
you were
which one
screwed.
it was. It might have been the Predator.
Oh man, I'm having like bad flashbacks. I remember. Yeah, I remember exactly. I think we've both just had a flashback to the same moment. The Marines, you might as well have been playing as bath sponges. They were the most pointless characters. You could not kill anything with the gun. And me and Perks stood in this big circular room, because obviously the Alien was overpowered, but Predator was just on another level in terms of being overpowered. We literally stood in a room, baited the other player into coming down this corridor where they couldn't move, they couldn't fire, and we fired at them straight with the assault rifles literally for like 2 minutes straight, and they didn't die and just slowly walked towards us in the fire, like just taking every single bullet they could, and then killed us both. And I think it's like, right, that's the last time we're playing this online. See you later.
Yeah, they basically made it like the films, right, where it's like if you're a human character, you're dead instantly no matter what happens. You can shoot rockets and missiles and bombs, and the alien or the Predator will just walk through and just decimate you.
What's the point in putting that in the multiplayer game, though? And then putting
we couldn't tell you that. It was one of the biggest missteps in
it was a failure
of development for online games. It was horrible. The one that I referenced before was called Extinction. I've just had a quick look now. It was Alien vs Predator Extinction. That was the RTS on the original Xbox.
I didn't actually see that game. See it. I've never heard of that game.
No, I haven't heard of it either.
It was quite similar along the lines of you had... I didn't actually complete it, but I remember playing it for quite a long time with one of my friends, and I think it was you had certain missions which you had control of the Marines, certain missions were control of the aliens, and so on. And there was, I can't remember the sort of distinction off the top of my head, but some of them were super easy, and then some of them were impossibly hard with the harder aliens and Predator enemies. So yeah, they don't have a great sort of history, I guess, with games like that.
Yeah, seems like they struggle to give
find the
humans.
Balance.
Yeah, the balance. That was the word I was looking for. Yeah, find the balance. Well, we might as well finish today with a bit of movie news. Looking across the week, we've seen that Aquaman's done pretty well for itself, and it's crossed the $1 billion sale revenue, whatever, worldwide. Which means it's the first DC film to cross the 1 billion mark since Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. I wanted to obviously get your opinions on this. I've not seen the film yet. I'm going to wait for it to, come out on TV or whatever and watch it then, or Netflix, because I don't really want to pay to watch it. But I know Sud did go to watch it, and I believe you enjoyed it.
I did actually. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I went into the film with, maybe it's because I went into it with very low expectations though.
Mm-hmm.
That does play a part sometimes, doesn't it, when you go into things with low expectations?
Yeah, I had the same with Venom.
Because I remember
Venom was great though.
Yeah, that's it. I think this is probably a similar type situation to Venom in terms of, well, maybe I don't think it quite got critically panned as badly as Venom, but it was very middling reviews. I think it was in the 50s, wasn't it, on Metacritic, stuff like that. So, but to be honest, I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I actually think if we'd have gone as a four to watch it, we probably would have enjoyed it. I think it was. I'm not saying it was the greatest film in the world or anything. It's
better than Judge Dredd.
Not a masterpiece. Oh, I mean, it's 100 times better than Judge Dredd. It's 100 times. I mean, if Aquaman had been in the mansion, Judge Dredd would be down in the toilet somewhere in the sewers. So that's the comparison I'd make. But no, it was a good film, enjoyable. The story was fine. There was a few, iffy moments in places, as there always is in these Marvel, DC superhero films. But it was an enjoyable, a lot more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. And Jason, what's his name? Is it Jason Momoa?
Momoa, yeah.
He did a really good job. So he's a good actor. Actually,
I feel like the film should have been. I haven't been to see the film. Just full disclosure. I feel like the film should have been called Jason Momoa Man, because half the people that have gone to watch it have just gone to watch it to fawn over him.
I think there might have been an element of that.
I would be very surprised if it grossed that much if it wasn't him as the
Aquaman.
main.
Yeah, maybe.
As Aquaman, if it was a different cast.
You could argue the same with Tom Hardy with Venom.
Yeah, possibly. And you could also
yeah.
say, well, it's a good. It was good casting, then, wasn't it? I suppose, but
well, he seems to suit the role, doesn't he?
As well,
he seems to suit
I think he's a pretty decent actor. So.
Yeah, and if Jason Momoa, ever decides to hang up the trident, then he can always just give the job to Roman Reigns instead.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
Almost the same person.
Roman Reigns could actually.
He could just Superman punch everyone. That would be it.
I don't think Roman Reigns would have had the personality to play it, but
it
had a good support.
Health status.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Hopefully, he recovers.
Yeah,
soon.
hopefully we'll wish him speedy recovery.
Pray for Roman.
Yeah, but. No, it had a good supporting cast as well, to be fair, that helped the film. So it was just a good film. I think if you end up watching it on DVD or whatever, you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it more than you think you will.
DVD?
Yeah.
What year is it?
Well, these formats these days.
VHS.
Yeah, you end up watching a VHS.
Yeah, I think we should go back to them days when it was on VHS, the good old days.
To be honest, I remember talking to you about a similar thing with Black Panther. I wasn't really interested. You went to the cinema. You said it was pretty good. I think you enjoyed it more.
I really enjoyed
it.
I'd say more than pretty good. It was really good, actually.
Well, I finally got around to watching it a couple of months ago, and I agree with you. I think it's a good film. So maybe it'll be the same with Aquaman. So where do you think this falls under the new DC universe? Is it below Wonder Woman? Is it better than Batman v Superman? Yeah.
Oh, it's miles better than Batman vs Superman. I mean, that's not even. It's much better than Batman vs Superman. But Batman vs Superman wasn't great, was it? Very poor.
Batman murders people.
It's not.
So
I'd put it under Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman was slightly better. I don't know. What did you guys think of Wonder Woman anyway?
I liked it. I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought it was a good film. I don't know if Perks might have seen it yet.
Yeah, I didn't watch it when it first came out, but when I got around to it, I thought it was...
Yeah.
Maybe I had a bit of prejudice with it, because I'm never a massive fan of the, lesser sort of spin-offs from the superhero films, but I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I thought the story was pretty good.
I think the story was the main thing, wasn't it, in Wonder Woman? That surprised me about Wonder Woman. It was the story.
Yeah.
It was a lot more powerful and strong than I thought it was going to be. And it's similar to this. I mean, the story's nowhere near as strong as Wonder Woman in Aquaman, but...
It's because Aquaman's not a strong, independent woman.
Well, no. I mean, I'll let you say that rather than me. But, yeah, just moving on from that. I think the thing about Aquaman is as well, the visual effects are fantastic in this film. If there's one thing you go and watch it for, it's the visual effects. And I think what someone actually said, didn't they? I don't know if it was a director of a different film, said it was not a disgrace, but said it was robbed that didn't get an Oscar nomination.
Oh, really? What for special effects?
For visual effects, because
I
visual
wish
effects
it was a disgrace. Who is it? Kevin Keegan?
Yeah. Well, they might have said it's great. They use some word like that, basically saying it's a joke, really, and it shows how pretentious, I suppose, the Oscars can be. That, just because it's a superhero film, it doesn't get any recognition, where the visual effects were fantastic, to be fair. That's one of the strong points of the film, the visual effects, and the sound effects as well. But, I enjoyed it, and I'm glad to see it's done well. I think it deserves it, so...
Well, hopefully.
Nice to see DC have a hit, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe critically it could have been stronger, but it's been a hit sales-wise. So.
Well, I was going to say,
That's
hopefully this will obviously kickstart the DC universe in a more positive light, because I didn't enjoy Batman v Superman. Very disappointed.
No,
and then you look at Suicide Squad. I thought that was pretty garbage as well, to be honest.
I didn't mind Suicide Squad, but it was definitely on the lower end.
I think we all thought that was going to be better than it was.
Yeah, it was okay, but
I didn't like it. And then you look at Man of Steel basically kicked it off, and I know that split fan base, didn't it?
Opinion.
I didn't actually mind it personally. I thought Man of Steel was all right, but
it was much better than Batman and Superman.
Yeah, it was better than Batman v
If you're comparing, it was miles better than that. But
I'd actually say the best DC film so far has probably been Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
which
I'd go along with that.
The story was. I think it was how grounded the story was as well. I think that's what surprised me about Wonder Woman. It was actually, you think how on earth can make a good story about Wonder Woman in terms of it's like, I think Matty might have alluded to this last podcast about it's hard to make good stories with DC characters because of how overpowered they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make it realistic. Even with Aquaman, at times it's like, well, this is ridiculous how much power he's got of the sea and stuff with his trident. And it's like, how can you make this?
Do you know what I think the difference is? These films are starting off at a point where these characters aren't as powerful as they will be, and ultimately they're still more vulnerable. And obviously, they're just learning things as they go, which makes it more intriguing, I think.
Well, yeah, because with the Wonder Woman film and the Aquaman film, they've done it from the point where they're not that powerful, haven't they, to start with?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And they've built them up, so it makes sense.
I also enjoyed Chris Pine in it as well. I thought he played off Gal Gadot pretty well.
Definitely. That relationship was... They were actually really good together.
Yeah, they were.
The relationship worked well.
It worked. So, yeah, definitely.
Believable.
Definitely. Well, we'll leave that on a positive note then and give DC some love for a change with the universe.
Yeah, they don't get much love these days, so...
No, that's
give them a little bit of love.
It's a step in the right direction for them, though, and I think we can all agree that if they keep going in the direction that they are, with you saying that Aquaman's definitely on an upward wave for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I was preparing their coffin, but I might have to put that on hold.
Yeah,
just put it on hold for now.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll sand out DC and just replace it with Destiny.
That's a good point. Actually, you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely could. Anyway, as I said, we'll leave it there, guys. So, where can people find you on the social media, Sud?
Well, for me, it's just Twitter at David10Spud.
Lovely stuff. How about you, Perks?
I mean, you can come for me on Twitter at JGPerks, but you won't get a response. So,
you're not
tweet away.
You're not plugging at Corpse this week.
No, Corpse is
retired
now. Yeah, he's got enough followers, and too many people were being directed to him. So at me, and don't expect a response.
Okay, that sounds fair enough. How about you, Matty? Where can people find you?
Matty Cheatham on Twitter and Instagram. So if Brenda's listening and she's pissed off about a credit card bill, then
or Brian,
or Brian,
direct your complaints to me instead of Epic.
Yeah,
I'll be able to deal with them for you.
Yeah, £5 per complaint though.
Yeah, the
reasonable fee.
Yeah, the hourly rate is £2 an hour. £2 a minute. Sorry.
£2 an hour.
Actually, no, £2 a second.
£2 an hour. That's a lot under minimum wage.
Putting yourself out of business on day one.
Yeah, I'm doing a Bungie.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Leld, LEL3Ds, add a 9 on the end for Instagram. You can also find Checkpoint Reached on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Check Reach Pod, and we're also on YouTube, Checkpoint Reach Podcast. If you're listening to us on YouTube, give us a like and ring the bell. And also share us, please, because that's also a very handy thing to do for the podcast. Anyway, I think that's it. We're all off to get some food. So, yeah, have a good week, guys. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.